It's your boy King, aka Kid Sam.
My son. Think I ain't spoke to my son. Think I ain't told my son, his mama, and his grandmamas. His ass going to prison. If you goddamn keep shit up, his ass going to prison.
Stand by right here for me. 32, I'm 10 extend, 1 detain. Spread your legs slightly. I just need to pat you down.
Wait till I come back in the market late night, and then it's just you, and I slap you up. Yeah. You trying to act off, son? All like this in front of all your people. Tell your mama I said Happy Mother's Day, and then Karen in my face and shit like what?
Yes, sir.
There's one in the head.
Does your buddy have one as well? All right, just hang tight right here for me. Let me clear this. I don't want any accidental fires.
There's no safety. You gotta take.
There's no safety.
Take
okay. Well, I'm not gonna mess around with that too much. I'm gonna just set this down right here. Dude, step out for me. Yes, sir. Place your hands behind your back for me. All right, right now you're just being detained. You're not under arrest. I'm gonna be at the church. All right, I appreciate you being cool, man. We're just gonna take a look at this information, make sure it's valid.
I ain't sure this.
Just take the step to the side for me.
Did T.I.'s son really just get slammed with 5 years behind bars? Social media is blowing up with claims about King Harris, but the truth isn't as simple as those headlines make it seem. It all started with a single headline, the kind designed to stop you mid-scroll. T.I.'s son King Harris gets 5 years in prison. The words were plastered across YouTube thumbnails in bold, flashing fonts, often paired with photos of King looking defiant or T.I. looking furious. Within hours, those videos had racked up tens of thousands of views, and that headline was no longer just clickbait. It was being treated like breaking news. On TikTok, the story spread even faster. Creators stitched together clips of King Harris arguing in public or showing off on Instagram Live, then added captions like, "No wonder he got locked up," or "It finally caught up with him." In just a few scrolls, viewers could stumble across dozens of short videos repeating the same claim, that King was sentenced to 5 years behind bars. The details rarely matched up. Some said it was for a violent charge, others for fraud, and a few even hinted at drug-related accusations. But the sentence length stayed the same, 5 years. Over and over again, the number echoed across people's feeds until it began to feel like fact. Twitter, or X as it's now called, took the rumor and gave it gasoline. Hashtags like King Harris Locked Up and Free King started to trend regionally, boosted by fan accounts and gossip pages hungry for engagement. Memes appeared overnight, photos of King with jail bars photoshopped across his face, edits of T.I.'s lyrics twisted into prison jokes, and endless speculation about how the troublemaker's son had finally gone too far. For many fans, it didn't even matter if it was true. The idea alone was entertaining enough to spread. What made the rumor especially sticky was King's reputation. For years, clips of him getting into arguments, flaunting his lifestyle, and clashing with critics had circulated online. He was seen as reckless, the kind of person who might end up in trouble sooner or later. So when people saw the prison rumor, it fit into the narrative they'd already built about him. Confirmation bias kicked in, and suddenly, even those who hadn't followed King closely were convinced the story was legit. Fan pages on Instagram piled on next. Some accounts posted blurry screenshots of supposed court documents that, on closer inspection, didn't even have real case numbers or legal formatting. Others reposted the same 3-second clip of King being escorted by police years ago, framing it as if it were brand new footage. The more people shared, the less anyone seemed to question where the rumor had come from. By the next day, casual listeners who hadn't followed the Harris family drama before were confidently repeating the claim that King Harris had just been sentenced to half a decade in prison. Even celebrities outside the hip-hop world chimed in, either by reposting memes or by dropping vague comments like, "That boy been wild, I'm not surprised." The more recognizable names latched on, the more fans believed it. At that point, the story had grown too big to ignore. What began as a handful of gossip videos had ballooned into a full-on internet frenzy, one that had people demanding answers from T.I. himself. But here's where things get interesting. For all the noise online, no one could point to a single official report. No court statement, no police press release, not even a credible news outlet had covered the supposed 5-year sentence. And that raises the question, if there's no hard evidence, then where exactly did this rumor start? And more importantly, why did so many people believe it so quickly? For all the noise, outrage, and viral clips dominating social media, one detail stood out almost immediately. Not a single credible outlet had actually reported on King Harris being sentenced to 5 years. Think about that for a second. If a rapper's son, especially the son of someone as high profile as T.I., had just been given half a decade behind bars, every major entertainment site would have been on it instantly. TMZ, XXL, Rolling Stone, The Shade Room, you name it. But when fans searched for confirmation, there was nothing but recycled gossip posts and click-heavy videos. That silence speaks volumes. Mainstream outlets thrive on celebrity controversy, especially when it involves hip-hop royalty. They're the first to publish mugshots, court dates, and insider quotes when something real goes down. But in this case, crickets. Instead, all the so-called evidence of King's supposed sentence came from unverified accounts, shady screenshots, and commentary channels that had no receipts beyond repeating what someone else already claimed. Digging deeper, the cracks in the rumor become even clearer. Some posts claimed King had been charged with assault, others said it was drug possession, and a few even floated white-collar fraud. But when you check actual public records, the kind anyone can search if they know where to look, none of those charges appear. The alleged 5-year sentence simply doesn't exist in the system. If it did, it would lead a paper trail, court filings, docket entries, legal motions. Instead, all that surfaced were old clips of King being briefly detained years ago, repackaged as new proof of his downfall. This is where the internet's echo chamber effect becomes dangerous. A rumor starts small, gets repeated by bigger accounts, and suddenly takes on a life of its own. People stop asking if it's true and start assuming why it happened. And because King Harris already had a reputation for being wild, the story felt believable enough to skip the fact-checking process altogether. But here's the reality. Credible sources have reported on King's past controversies before. When he was caught up in a messy confrontation in public, it made headlines. When he got accused of shady business dealings, blogs jumped on it. Even the dismissed sexual assault lawsuit from 2024 was widely covered at the time. The media has never ignored his missteps. So why would they suddenly go quiet on a story as massive as a 5-year prison sentence? The answer is simple: because it never happened. What's more, there's been no statement from law enforcement, no official comment from attorneys, and not even a slip from insiders close to the Harris family. In the digital age, true scandals rarely stay hidden. Someone always leaks, whether it's a court clerk, a paparazzi tipster, or even a frustrated family member. The absence of those voices here isn't an accident. It's a sign the rumor is built on smoke, not fire. Still, the lack of hard proof didn't stop people from treating the story as gospel, and that's where things turn messy for T.I. and his family. The more the rumor spreads unchecked, the more it cements itself in the public mind. And once an idea sticks on the internet, it's almost impossible to erase, even when the facts prove otherwise. So, if the 5-year sentence isn't real, why is it spreading like it is? The answer lies not in the courts, but in King's past. And the reputation that made the rumor so easy to believe in the first place. To understand why the rumor about a 5-year prison sentence spread so quickly, you have to look at King Harris's past. This isn't just a story about one headline gone viral. It's about how years of controversies, missteps, and headlines built a reputation that made the internet say, yeah, I can see that happening. King, the son of rap legend T.I. and singer Tiny Harris, has been in the spotlight since childhood. But instead of being known for music or business ventures, he's often made news for his behavior outside of the studio. Clips of him clashing with strangers, going on rants during live streams, and showing off a flashy, rebellious lifestyle have followed him for years. For fans and critics alike, King has become the wild card of the Harris family. Unpredictable, unfiltered, and always one move away from the next headline. His run-ins with the law started small. Over the years, there have been reports of misdemeanor arrests and brushes with police, often tied to reckless behavior or confrontations. None of these incidents landed him behind bars for long, but they kept his name attached to trouble. To the average fan, the pattern was clear. If there was drama, King was probably in the middle of it. Then came the bigger accusations. In 2024, King was named in a sexual assault lawsuit filed in Los Angeles. The case didn't stick. It was dismissed due to the statute of limitations, but the damage to his image was already done. Even though no conviction was ever made, the fact that his name was linked to something so serious gave fuel to gossip pages and critics. For many, the headline itself was enough to confirm what they already believed about him, whether or not the legal outcome cleared him. Around the same time, King's name popped up in another controversy, this time connected to financial misconduct. The Securities and Exchange Commission charged him in connection with promoting fraudulent initial coin offerings, part of a wave of crypto scams that snared several celebrities. Once again, King avoided major legal consequences, but the association painted him as someone reckless with money and willing to skirt the rules. On social media, King's own actions didn't help. He often broadcasted his confrontations with fans or strangers, and those clips were quickly turned into viral moments. One of the most infamous was a heated back and forth outside a Waffle House, where he shouted about his upbringing and dared anyone to test him. For many viewers, that single moment summed up his persona: brash, confrontational, and always ready to escalate. These incidents, small and large, stacked on top of each other, shaping a public image that made the rumor of a 5-year sentence feel believable. People didn't need proof. They just needed a story that matched the narrative they'd already accepted about King Harris. And when that story hit their feeds, they didn't question it. They amplified it. But here's the key detail. Despite all the chaos and accusations, King has never faced anything close to a 5-year sentence. The controversies may have been loud, but legally, they've fallen apart, been dismissed, or ended without serious jail time. The truth is, King's history is messy, but it doesn't match the punishment the internet has already decided he deserves. Still, that history explains why the rumor stuck. People believed it not because it was proven, but because it fit the version of King Harris they'd built in their minds over years of drama. And that's exactly what makes the next question so important. If the story isn't real, then why did it blow up the way it did? Who benefits from making King look guilty when the courts say otherwise? Whenever a story explodes across social media without a shred of hard evidence, it's worth asking the most important question. Who benefits from people believing this? Because rumors rarely spread this far, this fast, without someone standing to gain attention, money, or influence. And in the case of King Harris, there are several reasons why the claim of a 5-year prison sentence gained traction, even without proof. The first and most obvious answer is clickbait economics. Gossip channels on YouTube and Instagram live off engagement, and nothing drives clicks like celebrity scandal. Slap 5 years in prison next to the name of a famous rapper's son, and you've got a headline that guarantees outrage, sympathy, and debate for small creators desperate for views. Repeating the claim is an easy way to ride the wave and cash in on ad revenue. Whether the story is true almost doesn't matter. What matters is whether people watch, share, and comment. And with King Harris, they did all three in massive numbers. But it's not just about money. Rumors like this also thrive on confirmation bias. Fans who already believed King was reckless were quick to accept the rumor as fact. Critics who disliked him, or even disliked T.I., used it as ammo to reinforce their narrative that the Harris family was spiraling out of control. In that sense, the rumor worked as fuel for both sides. Supporters rushed to say, "Free King," while detractors used it to mock the family. Either way, the story generated non-stop engagement, which only pushed it further into trending territory. Another layer is misinformation by design. In today's digital ecosystem, false claims often spread because they're easy to twist into sensational headlines. Old clips of King being detained by police were recycled as proof of his sentence. Blurry screenshots of supposed court documents appeared on fan pages, even though they were missing crucial details that would make them legitimate. Someone out there knew those screenshots would get reposted, whether they were real or not, and once they did, they created the illusion of credibility. There's also the element of family drama magnified for the public eye. T.I. and Tiny have lived under the spotlight for years, and fans have always speculated about tension within the family. King's confrontational persona only added to that dynamic, with people eager to pit his behavior against his father's reputation. The rumor of a prison sentence played directly into that narrative, suggesting a dramatic fallout that fans couldn't resist dissecting. For gossip blogs, it was the perfect storm. A famous father, a rebellious son, and a supposed punishment big enough to feel like justice or tragedy, depending on who you asked. Finally, the rumor might also reflect a deeper cultural appetite for downfall stories. Audiences are drawn to watching someone rise quickly and fall even faster. King Harris, with his famous last name and outspoken personality, makes for the perfect character in that story. Even without real evidence, people bought into the idea of his downfall because it fit the storyline they were already primed to believe, that the kid who lived wild would eventually pay the price. The irony is that while the rumor benefited gossip pages and fueled endless debates online, it did real damage to King and his family. A false headline can stick harder than the truth, and in the court of public opinion, perception often matters more than reality. Whether King ever faces a sentence like that or not, the rumor itself has already left a mark. And that brings us to the next stage of the story. How did T.I. react to all this? Because if the internet was in chaos, you can only imagine what was happening behind the scenes in the Harris household. When a rumor spreads this far and this fast, it doesn't just affect the person at the center of it. It shakes the entire family. And in King Harris's case, that means the weight fell directly on his father, T.I. For years, T.I. has worked to balance his role as one of hip-hop's most respected figures with his position as a family man, often showcasing the Harris household on reality TV. But when headlines started shouting that his son had been sentenced to 5 years behind bars, fans weren't just questioning King. They were questioning T.I. himself. At first, the rapper stayed quiet, and in the world of social media, silence often fuels the fire. The lack of an immediate denial was treated by some as confirmation, with comment sections filled with posts like, "If it wasn't true, T.I. would have shut it down already." Others speculated that his silence meant he was furious behind the scenes, trying to manage a crisis before speaking publicly. That uncertainty only made the rumor more attractive to gossip pages, who framed T.I.'s quiet as proof that something big had gone down. But when T.I. did respond, his words hit with force. Rather than calmly dismissing the claim, he reportedly lashed out at the constant stream of gossip surrounding his family. In interviews and live streams, T.I. has never shied away from defending his children, and this time was no different. He called out the way social media profits off tearing down young black men, especially those born into fame, and made it clear that the narrative being pushed about his son wasn't based in truth. For T.I., it wasn't just about correcting the record. It was about pushing back against a culture that thrives on destroying reputations before facts even surface. Behind the scenes, insiders claimed the tension inside the Harris family was heavy. Tiny, King's mother, has always been vocal about protecting her kids, and watching her son drag through viral headlines once again reportedly left her furious. For siblings like Domani and Deja, the situation was another reminder that their family name makes them constant targets for scrutiny. Every argument, every misstep, every public outburst is magnified tenfold when your father is one of the biggest names in rap. The fallout also extended to King's reputation among fans. Some saw him as a victim of lies, quick to defend him with hashtags like Protect King. Others doubled down on the criticism, saying the rumor felt believable because of the way King often carried himself online. That split made the conversation louder, harsher, and harder to escape. Even people who didn't know much about King before now had an opinion, and that opinion was shaped by a rumor that had no proof to begin with. For T.I., the entire ordeal underscored a painful truth. Once the internet decides on a story, fighting back can feel impossible. Even as the rumor is fake, the damage lingers. Every time King's name trends, new audiences encounter the claim, and many won't bother digging deeper. They'll just remember the headline, 5 years in prison. But perhaps the biggest impact was on trust. T.I. has long maintained a complicated relationship with the media, and this rumor only deepened the divide. Fans who follow him closely know he doesn't tolerate falsehoods lightly. And his anger wasn't just about protecting King. It was about demanding accountability from a system that profits off destroying people's names. The Harris family may weather this storm like they weathered others. But the scar of this rumor won't fade quickly. And as the dust begins to settle, the bigger question remains: how do false stories like this gain so much power in the first place? And what does it say about the world we live in that a rumor can outpace the truth? By the time the rumor had fully taken over social media, one thing was clear. Whether it was true or not, King Harris's name was locked in the spotlight. And that leaves us with the most important question of all: what happens next? Because even though no official court documents confirm a 5-year sentence, the fallout from the rumor alone has already reshaped the way people see King, his father T.I., and the Harris family as a whole. The first thing to watch is whether any official statements or documents surface. As of now, credible outlets haven't published anything to confirm the supposed sentence. But with rumors this big, pressure mounts on journalists, bloggers, and even legal insiders to dig deeper. If there's truth behind the claims, it will eventually show up in official filings or court schedules. If there isn't, we may start to see mainstream outlets directly debunk the rumor, which could shift the narrative. Either way, the next move belongs to people with real access to facts, not just viral clips. The second factor is how King responds himself. So far, much of the conversation has been about him, not from him. King has never been shy about speaking his mind online, often hopping on Instagram Live to address drama head-on. If he chooses to confront the prison rumor directly, his words could either calm things down or pour more fuel on the fire. A fiery denial would grab headlines just as quickly as the rumor itself, while silence would keep fans guessing. With his reputation for being outspoken, many are expecting him to say something soon, and when he does, it could either end the speculation or take it to an entirely new level. Then there's the role of T.I. and Tiny in shaping the fallout. Both parents know the cost of public scrutiny, and they've spent years protecting their family in the face of constant rumors. If they decide to double down on defending King publicly, the story could evolve into a wider conversation about media accountability and the impact of false reporting on celebrity families. On the other hand, if they choose to ignore the chatter and let it fade, it may lose traction on its own, though at the risk of letting misinformation sit unchallenged. Fans should also keep an eye on potential legal consequences for those spreading false claims. Defamation lawsuits are notoriously difficult to win, but not impossible, especially if it can be shown that someone knowingly spread false information for profit. If the Harris family decides to pursue legal action against gossip blogs or creators, that would send shockwaves through the influencer world. Suddenly, repeating an unverified headline for clicks wouldn't feel so harmless anymore. And beyond the legal or media angles, there's the question of how this rumor impacts King's long-term image. Even if the 5-year prison sentence never happened, the claim has already cemented itself in online culture. For some fans, King will always be the troublemaker who nearly got locked up, whether or not the courts ever said so. That lingering perception could follow him into future projects, interviews, and public appearances. If he wants to shed that narrative, it will take deliberate effort, whether through music, business, or a change in lifestyle. In the bigger picture, this moment could become a turning point. Either King Harris continues to be defined by controversy, or he uses the backlash as motivation to prove everyone wrong. The internet loves a downfall story, but it also loves a redemption arc. Which path he takes may be the real story to watch. By now, the story of King Harris's so-called 5-year prison sentence looks less like a breaking news headline and more like a cautionary tale about how quickly rumors can spiral out of control. What started as a flashy thumbnail and a couple of viral TikToks turned into a full-blown internet narrative. One so convincing that thousands of people repeated it without ever seeing a single shred of evidence. And that's the most revealing part of all this. There were no official court filings, no mugshots, no statements from attorneys, law enforcement, or credible outlets. Yet the rumor burned across the internet as if it had already been proven true. Why? Because it fit the story people already wanted to believe about King Harris. His past controversies, his clashes on live streams, and his rebellious image made the idea of a harsh sentence feel believable, even if reality didn't back it up. For King himself, this is the double-edged sword of fame. Growing up in the spotlight as T.I. and Tiny's son meant every misstep was magnified, every heated moment caught on camera, and every accusation amplified beyond recognition. Whether it was minor legal trouble, accusations that went nowhere, or viral clips of him arguing in public, each moment added another layer to a persona people could easily label as reckless. And when a shocking rumor arrived, it slid neatly into that narrative. But the real damage wasn't just to King. It rippled through the entire Harris family. T.I. was forced once again to defend his son against a story built on speculation. Tiny and King's siblings had to endure the constant barrage of comments, jokes, and hashtags, dragging their family name through the mud. Even fans who wanted to defend King were stuck debating strangers online, fighting to set the record straight against a tidal wave of misinformation. And that leaves us with a bigger truth about the digital age. In today's world, perception often moves faster than reality. A rumor doesn't need proof to dominate timelines. It just needs clicks, shares, and a narrative that feels juicy enough to repeat. By the time the truth catches up, if it ever does, the damage is already done. People don't remember the correction. They remember the headline. And for King Harris, that headline will follow him whether it's true or not. The takeaway isn't just about King. It's about how all of us consume information. How often do we pause before hitting share? How often do we ask where a claim really comes from? And how many times have we helped spread a rumor without realizing we were adding fuel to a fire built on nothing? King Harris's story might be messy, complicated, and controversial, but as of right now, there's no proof he's serving 5 years in prison. That hasn't stopped the internet from running with the idea, and it likely won't stop the next wild rumor from catching fire. But maybe it should make us think twice before we believe everything that pops up on our feeds. Because in a world where lies move faster than facts, anyone can become the star of a downfall story that never actually happened. And for King Harris, the real question isn't whether he's serving 5 years. It's whether he'll let this rumor define him, or if he'll find a way to flip the script and prove the internet wrong.
My son, think I ain't spoke to my son, think I ain't told my son, his mama, and his grandmamas, his ass going to prison. If you goddamn keep that shit up, his ass going to prison. Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it. Can't nobody stop it but him. You know what I mean? I've already had that conversation. I've already made my peace with it. Cause I know that energy. I was that energy. I know exactly how it's gonna